Greetings fellow AoE enthusiast, and welcome to the next custom civilization concept on this channel. This time we will look at the Serbs. The Serbs are a more modern concept that reflects the current design philosophy with more unique ideas in contrast to the other more conservative designs on this channel. Now, if any Forgotten Empires developer sees this, please consider my application, because in this video you will see one of the best team bonuses that need to be in the game. The Serbs are of course a great contender for a civilization concept because they combine the Roman legacy through their deeply rooted connections with the Byzantines as well as the Slavic warfare from the Balkans. The Serbs were also in contact with the Bulgarians, Magyars and the Normans from Sicily, and while their borders were in constant flux, the Serbs not only held a strong kingdom, they also built the Serbian Empire. Their famous miners were not only popular in the silver economy, but also sought after sappers in the Ottoman army. All of this will be reflected in their very unique bonuses that make the Serbs a very fun and also potent civilization. So to understand why the Serbs could fit into the game, we will briefly check out their history. In the 2nd century BC, the Romans expanded their empire eastward and conquered the Balkans. This territory stayed under Roman rule until the 6th and 7th century, where the Slavic invasions started. The Avars specifically settled in these regions after the siege of Constantinople wasn't successful. The Serbian territory then was invaded many times by the neighboring Bulgarian Empire in the 9th century, where the Serbs were able to hold but ultimately succumbed to the Bulgarian forces. The Serbs even tried to revolt against the Bulgarian rule, but they weren't successful. Then, in the 10th century, the Byzantines defeated the Bulgarian Empire and Serbian territories were once again under Byzantine rule. Under the lead of Stefan Vojislav, the Serbs again revolted, but this time they gained independence not from the Bulgarians but from the Byzantines. This led to the birth of the Kingdom of Serbia, because after their independence the Serbs improved their relations with the Pope, so a king could be officially crowned. Now, Serbia wouldn't be just a principality anymore. Then there came a period of back and forth of being independent or a vassal of the Byzantine Empire, including another revolt and a Byzantine war against Venice, Hungary and the Serbs. One event that led to independence was when the Sicilian Norman Robert Guiscard attacked Byzantine territories to conquer some cities, and the Serbs, as a then vassal of the Byzantines, ignored their orders. Some Serbs and Sicilians would then fight against the Byzantines together. Later, when Frederick Barbarossa and his crusaders traveled through Serbia, the Serbian king Stefan Nemanja asked for help to siege Constantinople, but the crusaders declined. Yet on their way to Jerusalem, we all know what the crusaders actually did. In the 14th century, King Stefan Dušan took advantage of the Byzantine civil war to expand the Serbian territory by conquering Byzantine lands, and he was so successful that he doubled the Serbian territory within only 5 years. He then was crowned emperor by the Serbian archbishop and allied with the Bulgarians to secure the Serbian borders. As the emperor of the Serbs, he had great ambitions, as he wanted to conquer Constantinople itself to become the next Byzantine emperor. Unfortunately, however, he suddenly died before he was able to end his campaign. The Serbian Empire still flourished until it came to an end by the hands of the Ottomans in 1459. Another interesting point to mention is the Serbian church, as the Serbs were very religious people. This all started with the Serbian people converting peacefully to Orthodox Christianity as a result of the work of 2 Byzantine missionaries in the 7th century. In the 12th century, Rastko, the youngest son of Stefan Nemanja, refused to become a ruler like his brothers, but decided to become a priest of the Orthodox Church. Therefore, he left for Mount Athos, a mountain where monks devoted themselves fully to serve the Lord. Under the name of Saint Sava the Illuminator, he managed to gain independence for the Serbian Church from the Byzantines, built churches and schools all around Serbia and wrote the first Serbian constitution as the first ever Serbian archbishop. As you can see, the church in Serbia was a big deal, which was pronounced by a special tax for monasteries that every person had to pay. If we look at how the Serbs fought their wars, there are different types of soldiers that they used. In general, they utilized heavy cavalry like the Europeans, but also used archers and crossbows. Because of their Slavic heritage, they also used cavalry archers that were later replaced by mounted crossbowmen to support their ranks. Their speciality, however, were the shield and spear for their well-armored infantry. Some sources even state equipment similar to a quote-unquote Serbian hoplite. They would also field the Hussar, a light cavalry type that supported the noble cavalry or mercenary knights from Europe. Hussars were usually used to create chaos in the enemy lines and break formations, so the other troops could do their jobs. And lastly, the Serbs had one of the first ever cannon foundries in the Balkans. So, as you can see, the Serbs had a great repertoire of military options. If we quickly look at their economy, the Serbs were most famous for their gigantic mining towns, one of which had a population of over 40,000 people, which at the time was even greater than London. The silver miners worked for 6 hours a day and were even able to go on a holiday. And since these miners were so good at digging, they were later even used as sapper mercenaries by the Ottomans to undermine the thick walls of Constantinople. So, with their connections with so many other civilizations that are already in the game, the Serbs are a great contender for another civilization concept as one of the last civilizations around Europe. Now, with the history done, we need to understand how to design a civilization in Age of Empires 2, and there are two different approaches. The first one is something the game might be missing, such as a bonus, tech or a unit design that you can center the civilization concept around. With this approach, the civilization name is not as relevant as the bonuses. The second approach is needed if we have a specific civilization name in mind, and the bonuses are not as important as the civilization itself. The bonuses are added after you have decided what fits the general theme of your specific civilization. Most importantly, however, a civ design should always aim at a fun way to play the game, providing balanced options for both the player and the opponent. For this video, I used the first approach of a specific game mechanic that makes up for slow armies, and I also wanted to design another monk and siege civilization. Most importantly, I really wanted a very specific team bonus in the game, and I believe it is actually pretty useful for competitive play. More on that later. And again, since the Dynasties of India DLC provided us with a Bengali civilization that I was working on earlier, I figured I'd finish my Europe concepts with the Serbs and move on to other regions after this video. So make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss them. But for now, we should discuss the civilization icon, the architecture style and the wonder of the Serbs. And as always, if you want to skip to a specific section of the video, just use the chapters function or the timestamps in the description below. Since we are looking at the Serbs, the most obvious choice would be the flag of the Serbian Empire, since this is Age of Empires after all. This means we have a red double-headed eagle on yellow ground. There are also some alternatives with this pattern, but since the Serbian Empire had this specific version and we have so few yellow icons, I decided for this one. For the architecture, I decided for the Mediterranean set, because there even exists a so-called Serbo-Byzantine architecture school, and the Byzantines are also using the Mediterranean set. There's a small argument for the Slavic architecture, since the church design in the early Middle Ages were inspired by Slavic architecture, but we already have so many civilizations with this architecture style. For the unique castle design, one of these designs could work really well. Even though many Serbian castles are now ruins, they seem to build high towers in their structures. For the wonder, the famous Serbian Orthodox monastery named Gračanica would be very fitting. It also looks very pretty. Now we can check out the two unique units for the Serbs. While the Serbs utilized a unique light cavalry type that was the predecessor of the later Hussar cavalry, I wanted their unique units to be a little bit more unique than yet another light cavalry unit. As mentioned in the history section, the Serbs also used a lot of cavalry archers that utilized bows and later crossbows. So for the unique unit from the castle, I designed the Satnik, a mounted crossbowman with a heavy punch, but it is lacking in speed and attack rate. Because the Satnik is using a crossbow, they are different to regular cavalry archers with a bow. Regular cavalry archers have to stop, draw the bow and shoot, and they reload rather quickly. The Satnik, on the other hand, can shoot immediately because he has a loaded weapon, but they suffer from longer reloading times since crossbows are not as easy to handle. But what they lack in speed, they make up with heavy armor. So, to design the Satnik, I needed a blank unit that I could use as a base, and this was done with the Kotyan Khan hero unit. And after a lot of testing, I came up with fairly balanced stats. The Satnik has 60 HP, 2 melee armor and 1 pierce armor. They move with a speed of 1.45 tiles, which is slower than a regular cavalry archer with husbandry at a speed of 1.54 tiles per second. Their base attack is 8 and they have no frame delay, so they can shoot immediately. But they have an attack rate of 3, which is 50% slower than a regular cavalry archer. They train in 24 seconds, have an accuracy of 80%, and an attack bonus of +2 against spearmen. For the elite Satnik, I increased the attack by 1 from 8 to 9 and the pierce armor by 2 from 1 to 3. The elite upgrade costs 1000 wood and 700 gold. The unit itself costs 70 wood and 60 gold, which is fairly expensive. As a cavalry archer type unit, the Satnik benefits from regular blacksmith technologies as well as the archery range upgrades. They don't benefit from husbandry, however, since the Serbs don't have access to it and they also don't have the last archer armor. So, a fully upgraded elite Satnik deals 13 damage, has 80 HP and has 5 melee and 7 pierce armor. They are a durable cavalry archer with a lot of armor and attack, but they do have a weakness against skirmishers and especially pikemen because they can't run away as easily as other cavalry units. Because of their amazing stats but high cost, they are especially useful in the Imperial Age as a late game power unit. The second unique unit is designed to enable unique strategies and it replaces the spearman line for the Serbs. This unique unit is called the Vanguard and it has a pretty close design to the regular spearman line. The Vanguard is supposed to be a better armored version of the spearman because of the Serbian specialization with the shield and spear. They have a fast attack and the ability to set up caltrops, but more on that later. Most importantly, the Vanguard is comparable to the Malian spearman line or even Huskars or the Gulam because it has very high pierce armor but no melee armor. So to design the Vanguard, I used the Flemish militia as a base. And again, after a lot of testing, I came up with these stats. The Vanguard in Feudal Age has 50 HP, 0 melee armor and 1 pierce armor. They move with a speed of 1.1 tiles, which is slightly faster than a regular spearman of a speed of 1 tile per second. Their base attack is 2, with an attack bonus against cavalry, elephants and camels. The attack value and the attack bonuses are lower than those of this spearman line, but Vanguards have an attack speed of 2 as opposed to the attack speed of 3 of the spearman line. This means Vanguards perform equally to spears, pikes and halberdiers when facing cavalry, although they deliver their lower damage faster. In Castle Age, the Vanguard gains +5 HP, +2 attack and 1 pierce armor. They also have an increased attack bonus against cavalry, elephants and camels, so their performance is again equal to the spearman line. Now, this is the stage where the Vanguard is starting to be better than pikemen, because their faster attack makes them deal 12 damage per second as opposed to the pikemen's 8 damage per second against non-cavalry units. The upgrade to Heavy Vanguard is priced at 175 food and 100 gold. In Imperial Age, the Elite Vanguard gains another plus 5 HP, 2 attack and 1 more pierce armor. Of course, their bonus damage is also increased to equally match the Halberdier. The upgrade itself costs 450 food and 500 gold. As an infantry unit, the Vanguard benefits from regular blacksmith technologies as well as the barracks upgrades. This means a fully upgraded Elite Vanguard has 60 HP, 10 attack, 3 melee armor and 7 pierce armor. They beat cavalry like their generic counterpart, but they fare better against non-cavalry targets. And because they have such high pierce armor, they can take more shots from ranged units, which makes them an excellent unit when facing cavalry units with ranged support. They are very weak against melee infantry, however, so look out for that. Those are the direct stats, but Vanguards also have the ability to deploy caltrops as mentioned earlier. Caltrops are devices that were used by the Romans to deny areas against primarily cavalry. This is done by throwing these nasty little metal traps on the ground for enemies to step on. The mechanic is available through a building icon in the UI, just like the donjon is available for the Sicilians. And in-game, caltrops are deployed just like dragging a regular wall. The deploying animation could look like the seeding animation from villages, and each tile takes 5 seconds to build. Caltrops have a size of a 1x1 tile, and each tile has a cost of 10 gold, so it is quite affordable, but it can start to be taxing on your gold if you cover too much ground. Now, how do caltrops deal damage? Every tile has 10 charges, so it can attack 10 times. Each attack deals 5 melee damage to any unit and another 15 damage to cavalry for a total of 20. The caltrop has an attack rate of 2, so it attacks once every 2 seconds. Once the caltrops have delivered their 10 attacks, they are destroyed. This means one tile of caltrops can deal 200 damage to any cavalry unit, which can be an effective deterrent against cavalry charges. So how do you use caltrops? In theory, you could cover a lot of ground with these little stingers, but personally, I would either sprinkle them in your base against raids or have them around a forward siege and monk attack to fortify the position. If you want to counter them, you either have to avoid the visible tiles on the ground or destroy the caltrops with siege units. You can of course also use up all the charges with expendable non-cavalry units to get rid of them, since they don't receive that much damage. So as you can see, the Vanguard is meant to be the backbone of the Serbian army, being able to be used in many situations. The Serbs are going to be a monk and siege civilization after all, so they need other units to enable that sort of playstyle, and the Vanguard is exactly that. With both unique units done, we can look at the unique building. Since the Serbs had many silver mining settlements, with their silver miners being used by others in the military, I wanted to emphasize Serbian sappers and their tunnels. So the unique building of the Serbs is called Tunnel, and it is available in Feudal Age. It costs 100 wood and 50 gold to build, and it helps to move your units around the map in a quick and unnoticed way between 2 locations. The tunnel has 800 HP, 1 melee armor and 8 pierce armor in Feudal Age, so it is about as durable as a Castle Age house. Those stats increase with each age, but tunnels stay a fairly fragile building. Tunnels have a line of sight of 5 tiles, are constructed in 35 seconds and are 2x2 tiles large. You can garrison 15 foot units in the tunnel, which excludes siege and cavalry units, but you can of course move, for example, infantry, archers or villages. All tunnels on the map share the same garrison space, which means that you can quickly move units from one tunnel to another by ungarrisoning those units in the second tunnel. This means that if one tunnel is destroyed, you can still ungarrison your units in the second tunnel. However, unlike regular buildings that automatically eject all units once they are nearly destroyed, tunnels are closed forever, which means that all of your units inside the tunnel are also lost, just like a destroyer transport ship. This means the unique building of the Serbs offers very nice options to move an immobile army of, for example, archers around the map, and the ability for ambush type strategies. Tunnels can be countered, as already mentioned, by destroying and therefore disabling the units inside it. Obviously, tunnels would need a lot of balance testing, but if they were too strong, the HP would be reduced to make counterplay easier, and the travel time between tunnels could be adjusted from instantly to a very fast movement speed underground. And if they were too weak, I would allow them to transport cavalry units as well. Now with the unique building done, we can look at the unique techs for the Serbs. As already mentioned in the history section, the Serbs converted to Orthodox Christianity, and as they converted peacefully, they put a lot of importance to this. We also want to have a unique approach to monks because Serbs are, as already mentioned, partly a monk civilization. To reflect this, the Castle Age unique tech is called Monastic Vow, and it describes the dedication by Orthodox priests and monks to their religion. So the tech Monastic Vow makes monks regenerate 120 HP per minute. Now, this might sound like a lot, but in reality, this effectively means that Serbian monks can heal themselves. The regular healing rate for monks is at 150 HP per minute, so the self-heal is slightly lower. Now, because their regeneration is relatively fast, they are more durable in direct consecutive fights. So, for example, with Sanctity researched, Serbian monks can withstand 6 instead of 5 hits by scouts, 7 instead of 5 by knights, and 14 instead of 7 by 1 crossbowman. Keep in mind that these tests are in 1v1 scenarios, so if a group of crossbows targets the monk, they perform identically to a generic monk, because they only benefit from regeneration if they don't get killed instantly. In direct fights, they perform similarly to Bengali armored monks, but those tests are only in isolation. In group fights, the Serbian monks have a much higher potential to survive because once they flee, enough HP is going to be recovered. It is a really strong effect if you have a monk push and you have to shift your units around the map all the time. And I think such a high regeneration rate makes this mechanic worthy of a unique tech, even though in some situations it performs similarly to Bengali armored monks. If you manage to save your monks, this gives great value. Monastic Vow costs 100 food and 200 gold, so it is a fairly cheap cost, although it is in addition to a castle. Moving on to the second unique tech, I was thinking about different things to represent the use of light cavalry, while also respecting the heavy influence and Romanization by the Byzantines. And while it is true that I decided against a Gusar unique unit, a unique tech is still plausible. So the unique tech Gusar grants the light cavalry line +6 attack against spearmen. This makes hussars barely lose a 1v1 against halberdiers, with halbs having only 4 HP left. They beat halberdiers in 5 instead of 9 hits, but still take a lot of damage in return. Getting this tech in later stages of the game might still be worth it though, because in combination with the Satnik, this is very strong. Now, this tech doesn't make your light cavalry a cataphract, but it is still amazing in trash fights, especially since the Serbs don't have access to husbandry. It is also a historical nod because with this the Serbian light cavalry line can potentially beat the cheap Byzantine halbs. The Gusar unique tech costs 500 food and 400 gold. Those were the unique techs, and now we can check out the civilization bonuses. The Serbs are a monk and siege civilization, but have other strong options as well. Their early game is going to be on the weaker side, but they have a clear window in Castle Age where they unfold their whole power potential. Their first civilization bonus is of course the Vanguard that replaces the Spearman line. The second civilization bonus is the Tunnel that is also available in Feudal Age. The third bonus is pretty straightforward and also a nod towards the silver miners that were used as sappers during the siege of Constantinople. It allows you to build petards from the siege workshop, which allows you to quickly raise buildings without needing to build a castle. And while testing this, I noticed how petards are actually designed in a very interesting way. Petards without upgrades kill most buildings with 3 units, which makes them cost 255 resources for each building. And this makes them slightly more expensive than a battering ram at 235 resources each, but they have much quicker results. So petards from the Siege Workshop are a fast and unique way to pressure the enemy base once you are in the driver's seat. As a quick note, because that's a question you might have, no, petards are siege units and they therefore cannot move through tunnels. For the 4th bonus, I wanted another bonus that helped their siege play, and I was testing different options. At first, they were able to research Siege Onager at a 50% discount, while also skipping the Onager upgrade. This meant they effectively had a really powerful mangonel to instant Siege Onager option in early Imperial Age, but this would fall off later due to not having access to siege engineers. I decided against that, however, because I figured they needed their options earlier, because the Siege Onager upgrade takes forever to research. The next option I tested was a cheaper Onager upgrade available in Castle Age, but that turned out to be way too strong. To explain this, Onagers not only have increased HP and range over mangonels, they also have way more attack. That means that they win every mangonel fight with very little counterplay. For example, archers would have a much harder time because of higher HP, and cavalry can be easily countered by vanguards or monks, so onagers in Castle Age are probably way too strong. So in the end, I decided for a much better, more interesting and also way more balanced option for their Castle Age siege. So the Serbs have siege engineers available in Castle Age with a discount of 50%. This means instead of 500 food, 600 wood, it costs 250 food and 300 wood. Note that this is in addition to the cost of a university. This means that all siege units deal more damage against buildings, but more importantly, mangonels and scorpions have one more range in Castle Age. So in reality, this bonus makes your siege units perform almost identically to Celt siege units with 25% faster attack, except that you also have +1 range and petards from the Siege Workshop. Of course, to make your Siege Workshop this powerful, you need a very good economy, and this bonus falls off in Imperial Age, where other civs get access to siege engineers as well. That means your siege is extremely good in Castle Age, granted you pay for the bonus. The 5th and last bonus is a minor economy bonus, and at first I was arguing with myself if it was even necessary. But because the Serbian silver miners and even their mining towns were so immense and famous in the area, their gold and stone miners work 10% faster. It is a weaker but broader bonus compared to the 20% faster work rate of Turks or Koreans, respectively, but as mentioned in my other concept videos, we have similar economy bonuses all the time. So this bonus is pretty straightforward, and I don't think I have to elaborate further. The only thing is that I am a little undecided whether this is necessary or not. But this can only be determined by balance testing with real people. Now we can skip over the unique units and the unique techs because you already know them, and we can look at the amazing team bonus. So for the team bonus, I need to show you a scenario that is often encountered in Archer versus Archer games. Usually, Archer mirrors will start to include skirmishes or mangonels to counter the opponent without switching your economy setup. This then leads to microing your mangonel to gain the advantage over your opponent, and many pro players start building outposts to see where the enemy mangonel is moving. So to help in those situations, the team bonus of the Serbs grants your mangonel line +2 line of sight, which is amazing in these kind of matchups. Because you can spot your enemy from further away, it is a lot easier to adjust your mangonel position to potentially gain the upper hand. This means that the civilization bonuses are aimed at a very strong siege play, supported by unique spearmen and monks. They have a powerful death ball composition that needs time to get to with satniks from the castle, and their small economy bonus helps them to get to their units slightly faster. All of this is possible by defending with vanguards and their caltrop setup. With that being said, we can look at their tech tree. Looking at the archery range, the Serbs have pretty decent options, having fully upgraded crossbows, skirmishers and cavalry archers in Castle Age. In Imperial Age, they get Arbalister, so their foot archer play is perfectly viable. They don't get hand cannoneer or heavy cavalry archer, but Parthian tactics helps their unique unit a lot, since the Serbs are missing the last archer armor upgrade. Moving on to the barracks, the Serbs have all the upgrades available, while the spearman line is of course replaced by the vanguard unique unit. This makes their infantry play very interesting and also a go-to unit line. Looking at the stable, the Serbs have very good options available with hussars and cavalier with full blacksmith upgrades and bloodlines. Their stable is unique in the way that it is the only stable in the game that has hussars but does not have husbandry. That makes your cavalry really potent up close, but they are slightly slower than generic ones. This also means that the Serbs are going to have a rather slow unit composition, but that's what the tunnels are made for. So if we summarize the trash options, they are clearly balanced around the vanguard being the backbone of the Serbian army. Because they are supported by hussars with an attack bonus against spearmen, they are lacking the last archer armor upgrade for their skirmishers, and of course the speed upgrade for cavalry. This still makes their trash really good in the late game, which makes sense because they need a lot of time to get to their power potential. Moving on to the siege workshop, the Serbs have great options in Castle Age with siege engineers that extends to an amazing Imperial Age with siege onagers and bombard cannons. Their rams are serviceable with capped ram, and their scorpions do not get upgraded. The most unique part about the Serbian siege workshop is of course the petard that can bust through enemy defenses very quickly. Looking at the blacksmith, the Serbs have all the upgrades except the last archer armor upgrade. This again makes their military options really good once they are fully upgraded. Now the dock is rather generic without heavy demo, dry dock and shipwright. They do however have fully upgraded galleys with bracer and chemistry, so they still can use their navy if needed. The university has all the upgrades in the Castle Age except heated shot and fortified wall, but they have of course siege engineers in age earlier with a discount of 50%. This means you have average defensive options but amazing offensive options with your siege units. In Imperial Age you're only missing keep, but you have architecture and bombard towers, which is great to secure area on the map. In the castle, the Serbs have everything, including the very fitting sapes, and now you can also see the details of the unique options again. Moving on to the monastery, the Serbs have every upgrade available since they are designed to be a monk civilization. This means they have all the basics with redemption, fervor and sanctity, and they also have heresy, block printing and illumination. And last but not least, you can see the tunnel as the unique building in Feudal Age and all the economy upgrades except crop rotation. Now this was the tech tree of the Serbs, and I do think they have pretty powerful options in the mid and late game, but they need the time to get there. Now let's look at their potential strategies. The Serbs in Dark Age are completely generic since you usually don't need to take gold or stone, and the Vanguard only becomes available in Feudal Age. Once you hit the Feudal Age, you are able to use Vanguards in your roster, and I am recommending a Scout Rush to set up your economy. In Scout Mirrors, Vanguards are amazing because they have a slight HP advantage over Spearmen, and they can also endure more arrows once the Archer switch comes in. You can also try to sneak a villager behind the enemy lines to build a tunnel, or you can build tunnels on the way up to Castle Age to reinforce your forward siege push. Since these Serbs are also collecting gold and stone slightly faster, you can also very comfortably play archers into crossbows. Speaking of Castle Age, you have many options to use. One of them is of course the fully upgraded crossbows or even cavalry archers into the Satnik unique unit. Playing with archers is also great because you want to build a university for ballistics, and you can also use that for siege engineers on your mangonels as well. An alternative is a very aggressive knight play that is reinforced by monks or a siege workshop. You can especially try to break in the enemy base with a few petards, so you can stream in your knight mass a lot faster. My personal favorite is a push with vanguards, monks and siege engineer mangonels, because that emphasizes the uniqueness of this civ. Meanwhile at home, you need to make sure to support your push with a very good economy, because the Serbs don't have a very potent economy bonus. Once you reach the Imperial Age and haven't already won with an all-in push, the Satnik with hussars come to mind. The Satnik is the most durable and population efficient unit for the Serbs, and in combination with a meat shield, they provide you with a very strong death ball composition. The lack of speed on the units is not as important because they hit so hard. So the Serbs are an amazing civ for players who enjoy monks, siege, infantry and a late game switch into the unique cavalry archer. All in all, the Serbs are a civilization that focuses on a strong military with unique twists to use. The Serbs are a great civilization for 1v1 games with their siege and monk play, but they can also be used in team games with their almost fully upgraded arbalesters or cavaliers. I would probably play them as a flank civilization, however, with archers and a later switch to the unique unit. Personally, I had a lot of fun testing the Serbs with their amazing unique units and this team bonus that is so very convenient. I really enjoyed thinking about how to make their stable unique and how to design their tunnel building. Although this civilization has pretty cool off-meta options, the Serbs can of course still play meta with an overwhelming knight push with petards in Castle Age, or they can also just play plain crossbows into economy. With that being said, how did you like the Serbs and what civilization concept would you like to see next? Now have a good one and praise Lord Doubt.